I'm sure by now, everyone's seen the We're Coming for Your Children video, and there have been plenty of commentators far wiser than I to comment on it. I always look for new ways and new tools to assess things in order to provide solutions or show a new way of thinking about something. Therefore, this video is going to go into what the heck parents ought to do in reaction to this. Super brief overview, San Francisco's Gay Male Choir put out this video that repeats over and over in essence that they are coming for your children, going to re-educate your children against you, and that you're a hateful bigot. But in song. So while my video does not more deeply explore this other video, and you can skip to here in order to get to the constructive portion for parents. However, I'm going to address a couple things which definitely need to be brought up just in case you haven't watched anyone else point this out. Firstly, this is hands down the creepiest thing I have ever seen, and I fall asleep to crime shows. I've seen some extremely creepy things, and I'm not afraid of the dark, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. I make a point of being educated and aware about this stuff, mostly in order to learn how to best combat it and help others to do so. This video is just messed up. It is clear malice. If a behavior specialist doesn't make a video to go through the microexpressions in this video, someone remind me and I will, but that's not what I want this video to be about. I do, however, real quick, want to point out that the first guy's microexpressions are total psychopathy. There's a couple, but one was real quick and I couldn't even get a still of it with my phone when I tried. It was so quick. But it was a few lines in and this guy's eyes were wide with a smile, and that's a clear sign of psychopathy to make a threat with that kind of expression. You guys remember that TikTok trend that showed you what your psycho face would look like, and you had to have crazy open eyes with a smile? It's a sincere sign of intended malice. I don't want to go too deep into this right now, so let's just move on. So in this video, you have here a bunch of grown men singing that they are coming for your children. Those are their actual words. This is extremely inappropriate on so many levels, but especially considering how much child sex trafficking has been in the forefront of the news lately. So now you have grown men threatening to take your children. Read the room, boys. This is beyond creepy. They turn threats towards children into a song. And don't sit there and say, oh, well, you have to listen to the whole thing and it's all said in the spirit of fighting bigotry. No. Someone saying in any way, shape, or form, I'm coming for your children, is not okay. Imagine if priests made that video saying that about atheist kids. Imagine if really anyone else made a video saying that. People would be losing their minds, and rightfully so. But no, for some reason, these super special creepy guys get a pass. LGBT people, now is your time to shine. Now is your time to rise up and tell everyone else, no, these creeps do not represent us. We are so sorry. No, we are not coming for your children. No, we respect your rights as parents and love for your children. Please do not lump us all in with these psychopaths. Because this whole thing, it's meant to drive even more of a wedge instead of building a bridge. Open your eyes. This whole thing has only had Christians saying, see, we were right. Their agenda all along was to come after our children. And if you want to actually try to mend that bridge, you gotta be the rational one in your group and say, no, we understand how this looks and we're sorry. Please don't take this as another reason to dislike us. Because I'm telling you, no rational parent is not going to see this as fighting words, because they are. So if you're a rational mind in the gay community, you've got to be the light. You got to stand up and say, no, we understand that we're doing to you what you claimed you were doing to us. No, we swear we do respect your lifestyles the same as we want to be respected. And we respect your right to raise your children how you wish, just like we want you to leave us alone. Because here's the thing. If you don't feel this way and you think you're entitled to act like a victim while simultaneously threatening other people's kids, you are wrong. You see, the biggest tactic of abusers is abusing others the way they claim they are being abused, and using that as justification to dehumanize others. If you had no problem with a video of men singing about taking away parental rights, trying to breed hatred for their parents and children, you are wrong and a danger to society. Now, I understand most people who think this behavior is acceptable are trying to come from a place of love. And I understand that since abusers use the same tactic to abuse as they claim others are using against them, it is authentically difficult to tell which side is the instigator and which side is the defending side. I do not believe in telling people what to think. And I think expert fallacy is one of the most dangerous plagues of our time, since no one is an expert on anything, especially ever-changing scientific and social matters. Therefore, I am a huge advocate for getting people information and telling them to think for themselves. As an adult looking for the truth, you should trust no one, and that includes me. But part of what I do is champion education and information in order for others to come to their own conclusions. Therefore, I'm going to point out some facts to you to help you understand the reality. If you're a person who doesn't embrace certain sexual values, we have a segment of an identifying group of people who hate you so much that they are saying that they want to take from you the thing that any good person loves and cherishes the most on earth: your children. And why? Because you do not have the same belief system as them. They want to punish you personally and in the most painful way they can imagine for not obeying them. And here's the kicker. The type of people who believe children should be snatched up from the arms of their parents and thrown into some sort of re-education program are the same people who are angry you had your children in the first place due to overpopulation. They are the same people who are annoyed at the idea of children existing in the first place, and therefore the ability to kill them must be legal. Now, does this sound like someone who truly loves and cherishes children? Does this sound like someone who would care for those children if they were adults? Or do you think they'd sing the same threats to them, that they wish to harm them on the deepest levels imaginable by taking from them the love of their children? That's what this is about. It's about punishment. It's not about tolerance, because if it was, then this video wouldn't even exist. It's about redefinition and moving the goalposts of what is normal and what is challengeable in society. They want to take your children. They'd come out in the middle of the night to do so if they could, and throw them into their re-education camps. And that is truly the concept that they are seeking to normalize. And what's more, this is how you get a chunk of the populace to sit back and not defend parents' rights to their children, under the belief that taking the children away is good, that camp is good. They want that bundle you held onto in the hospital, looking into your miracle's eyes. They want that kid you stayed up with night after night, soothing their fever. They want that child you kissed when they skinned their knees. They want that kid you held onto tightly when they were scared during a thunderstorm. Because that child is the most precious thing to you. And if they can convince that child to hate you, then they've taken that child from you. And if the LGBT community doesn't want to be seen in this light, you guys got to do something. You've got to take a stand against this. If you truly want tolerance and respect for all, and if you agree with any of this sentiment, you're a sympathizer. But let's get into the actual meat and potatoes of this video. Parents, what is the proper reaction to all of this? What ought a parent to do when confronted with someone telling them that they are coming for their children in the form of altering that child's perception of reality? I'm going to break this down into numbered points for you. If you see my other videos about children not being accessories and how to show your child you love them, this will very much mirror that language, since everything is always connected. Here we go. 1. The most important thing you can teach your child is that they are loved. And And here's the thing, that comes immediately and directly from the parents. If a child does not feel loved by their parents, how quick do you think they're going to be to trust you? I mean, if they don't feel loved, then they don't feel as if you have put them before yourself, and therefore you don't have their best interests in mind. No. Oftentimes the children of parents who did not put them first have understandably no reason to want to trust their parents, and will far more readily subscribe to another worldview, especially if it is one that is contrary to their parents' worldview. If a child feels loved and valued, they are going to trust their parents and their parents' point of view because you cared enough about them to show them the things that matter to you, and they trust you when you say you value these things because you live as if you do. Here's an example. Do you treat your spouse disrespectfully? Then guess what? Your children are going to learn to disrespect others and disrespect marriage. Do not rely on your words to convince your children of anything. If you've got a value, you live it out with your life, or you show you do not actually value it. If you say you love your child, you love them more than yourself, and you strive to make them feel that love. That's a lot harder when they're teenagers. So you need to rely more heavily on the foundation of love that you start building as soon as they are born. The lessons you teach your children compound. They learn whether or not you are a trustworthy person based on your dedication to them and to the truth. Do you know why so many teenagers and college-age kids are so easily swayed by the first professor they respect who hasn't a fraction of love for them as their parents have? Because most parents do not provide their children compelling enough reason to take to heart their parents' point of views. Most parents treat their children like they are burdensome or accessories, because that is simply the way of the culture now. A parent who raises their children well will have a child walk into a school, and when they encounter a teacher who straight up says something like, "Your parents are wrong," that kid is going to be like, "Excuse me? What did you just say about my mama?" You've taught them the value of critical thinking so that they are less easily swayed away from you. But you've also showed them that you are to be trusted in your critical thinking skills. I'll get into that in a few minutes. Also, note that this is not to put blame on anyone who had a child disown their belief system. I do not know you or your situation, so don't take personally what you ought not. Please go watch my How to Make Your Children Feel Loved video after this if you want more comprehensive information about building a strong framework for your children and your relationship and all of their future relationships. 2, take them out of school. Yes, take them out of school. It is important to take them out of school because the people who are coming for your children are already here and they're brainwashing them in government schools. You are handing them your children. They are no longer learning just academics necessary for life. The public education system is a joke in and of itself, since they are either teaching them how to memorize to take useless tests to get government funding, making them into worker bees for a system, wasting their time immensely, which could be spent far better elsewhere with proper structure, and forcing right think on them. There is really no valid reason to keep your kid in a government school. If you think you are not capable of educating your child, then ask yourself, why do you want to keep them in a system that left you feeling inadequate to teach them what you learned? Surely you see the irony in that thinking. You know how much education you need to teach a 3rd grader? At least a 4th grade education. It is so important to take kids away from really the source of strife in this nation. The source of pinning people against one another and brainwashing them, deceiving them and giving them a jaded view of history and science. And do not be so arrogant and naive to think that if you send your child off to receive poison daily, that you can simply administer an antidote when they get home. That is extremely arrogant and silly. You will never be able to combat the experience they are force-fed without realizing it, especially since most of their waking hours are a slave to it. Why do you think you'll ever have enough antidotes to refute this poison? Just stop sending them off to be poisoned. I know I'll get pushback for this, since some people might think that this is such a radical ideal, but here's the reality. If you do not put your children's education first, and I mean their life education, where they learn in an environment that's structured by you, the parents, so that they can thrive in a healthy way, away from the pressures of right think and bullying. If you don't put their education first, you are going to lose them to a different belief system. And that needs to be something you're at peace with. Can you make peace with that? These are your children we're talking about, and it's the difference between keeping them and losing them. And it is your right as a parent to keep them safe from predators, especially the predators who have an aim of turning them against you, telling them that you are hateful and bigoted. Remember, these people want to punish you by taking away the thing you'd lay down your life for, because they are slighted that you don't obey them. They are incapable of tolerance. They are on a mission. Take your children out of a poisonous environment. Maybe you'll say it's not feasible. Make it so. If there's a will, there's a way. Move to a place where there are friends and family who will help you. Isolating people from their support system was part of the plan. Skyrocketing inflation so the average household would have to have 2 incomes to survive was part of the plan. They do not want you to be able to teach your children. They want you to use school as a daycare. Fight back. Fight back for your kids. If you need help to get onto the right homeschooling track, to feel less overwhelmed, I will personally talk with you about it and help you find resources, because I don't want you to lose your kids. From one parent to another, I will help you fight. 3, teach them how to think. I do not mean teach them what to think, but teach them how to think. Teach them how to identify right from wrong, good from nefarious, truth from lie. Parents, if you've got children old enough, show them the Gay Man's Choir video and ask them, do you think they respect me as a parent? Do you think they respect me as a person? Do you think they respect my belief system? Do you think I'm actually bigoted and hateful? Do you think they care more about you than I do? And let that lead into a conversation. You might just find out that your preteen or teenager has been feeling isolated lately. They might just tell you that you don't make them feel loved. Do not become defensive. You will lose them. Loving someone else means putting them before yourself, before your pride, before what you think you're owed. Listen to your child. Let them tell you their own thoughts on the culture and your parenting and where they fall on the spectrum of their own values. You cannot control anyone else, not even your own kid, which is why so many kids are so impressionable and turn away from their parents' values. When your children are young, you teach them concepts which they build upon. You teach them the concept of love and respect and how one shows loving behavior. And you teach them what hate is and what hateful behavior looks like. And when they encounter hate that is veiled as love, they can recognize it. It might just save their lives one day. It might spare them from an abusive relationship. Empower your children by teaching them how to think and identify motivations for behaviors. You'll find that the more respected you make them feel as teenagers, the more likely they will come to the same conclusions as you. Which brings me to my next point. 4, show them the monster. Do not hide information and facts from your children. Of course, censor when you ought to, such as how graphic an event might be. But it is so important for children to see the reality of things, because we cannot expect them to fight a monster they do not recognize. This is especially important when it comes to repeating history. If they are thinking for themselves, we've armed them. My children know what abortion is. I do not go into detail about it since they are young children, but they know it exists, and they've got a pretty strong opinion about it, especially since they have a little baby to love at home. I give them facts, which include the excuses people might have to have abortions, and I let them come to their own conclusion. Yes, even at a young age. Because guess what? I won't have to worry about rushing to form their conscience about this later. I won't have to worry about them first encountering an emotional plea to justify this act before they are aware of biological science. You see, we will never get rid of certain evils in this land, even if outlawed, because you cannot legislate morality. Even those highest in government don't let the laws apply to them. The very, very best we can do is to try to teach others. The first step is showing them that you care. That is the hook that's used by others to teach children contrary things, which is why it's so important to show your children what authentic care and love looks like. It's important to teach your children actual science so that they can be informed when it comes to scientific matters, so they don't learn science from a non-scientific authority, such as emotion. Morality very closely aligns with scientific realities. So teach them science, teach them history, teach them their rights, teach them how to spot nefarious things and patterns, teach them how to treat others, and stand confident that they will be able to see a lie when it's in front of them. A lie such as their parents are hateful bigots for their belief system. 5. You've shown them the monster. Now show them how to fight it. You will not be able to protect them in all ways forever. And that's not how it ought to be anyway. A good parent teaches their child how to fight for themselves, how to fight for their family and friends and their community. A good parent raises an intelligent and brave knight who will step up to the monster and say, "Let's rumble." How do you teach them to fight other than providing a foundation of love and information? You inspire in them conviction. If you've got the kind of conviction that disturbs you at this rally cry to take your children from you, then it's the kind of conviction for your belief system that you ought to pass on to your children. You've got those values and beliefs for a reason, right? Show them why. And show them why not only are they not worth forsaking, but they are worth defending. Fill your child with righteous conviction, armed with love for others and love for veritas, and you will not quake in fear that they will succumb. No, those who champion immoral deeds will quake in fear of them. And if you haven't noticed, we need a lot more warriors. Raise them. Raise fulfilled, educated, happy warriors. Hey choir, guess what? A parent's love for their child is far stronger than whatever the hell weapon you think you've got. You're going to take my children? I'd like to see you try. Because guess what? I'm not going to groom my children to be available for the taking. Our children are the ones you should be worried about.